Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to the show. Our first guest in the studio is Hassan Shibly, who is the founder of Muslim Legal and one of the most prominent American Muslim lawyers with over a decade of services dedicated to protecting the Muslim community and facilitating millions in support of charitable work. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum. There you are. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Can you hear me?
Yes. You can hear me?
You didn't reply to my salams. I was thinking, you're ignoring me. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Alhamdulillah. How have you been? We haven't spoken for a couple months now.
Wallah, alhamdulillah, we've been very, very busy. It's been an extremely busy year. Alhamdulillah, we've hired about 4 or 5 more staff to join our law firm over the last month. This year has been, I think, a very challenging year for the American Muslim community, and we've responded by growing the Muslim legal law firm to better meet the needs of the Muslim community. We've had a lot of instances where people have been targeted by the government for their outspoken criticism of what we're seeing happening in the Middle East. We've seen cases where people have been the victims of hate crimes. People have been let go of from their jobs or targeted or even penalized by their own schools for criticizing certain government policies that have led to the loss of innocent civilian life. So we've been very busy dealing with that while at the same time traveling throughout the United States, trying to get support for humanitarian aid for our brothers and sisters in Gaza. And at the same time, even Sudan and Darfur and the horrific situation happening there, while also trying to mobilize the Muslim community to have a positive impact in the United States and try to shift this country in a better direction. I mean, quite frankly, as an American Muslim attorney who also gives Friday khutbah sermons across the US, I often remind the American Muslim community that we get a lot of benefit by living in this country. We really do. We have incredible economic opportunity. We have incredible opportunity to practice our faith, to study, to grow, to be successful in the worldly sense. But it comes with an obligation because America obviously has a great impact in what happens throughout the world. And I do believe as American Muslims, if we are living in this United States and benefiting from living here, then we have an obligation to be a source of guiding this country to what is best when it comes to morals, ethics, politics, and human rights. So that's sort of the focus of our work, traveling the country, mobilizing this message, raising funds for humanitarian aid work, but also trying to solve the challenges the community is facing. As I'll tell you, I'm a firm believer that our biggest challenges are always internal. And while over the last year, we've had a tremendous influx of cases related to the political situation, we're also inundated with cases of Muslims fighting Muslims, Muslims fighting each other, parents trying to destroy each other in the courts, parents keeping their children away from each other. So we've actually also expanded our family law department. And I will tell you this, I'm the kind of guy that's used to going on national media and challenging, it might be the White House, it might be the FBI, really big cases that attract national attention. So I never thought I'd be involved in your everyday family law case, your everyday divorce case. But what I've come to realize is working in that field is probably one of the most important areas for Muslim attorneys to be involved with, because what I've realized is you have a lot of attorneys who do not fear God and do not care about their clients. And when people have conflicts, instead of finding reasonable and amicable solutions that's in everyone's best interest, and most importantly, in the children's best interest, these attorneys increase the conflict because that's how they make their money. And what they do is they destroy families. And the issue is, for the ummah to be strong, you need families to be strong. Families are the basis for the ummah. And so we cannot really have a great impact when it comes to Palestine, human rights, all these national issues, if our families themselves are broken. So I quickly came to realize that being involved in family law is probably one of the best ways to serve the ummah, because if we can help heal families, if we can help and nurture and protect these children that are the biggest victims of these divorces, and we can try to make these things go in an amicable way, then we can have the strength that the ummah needs to solve the external problems. But I think as a Muslim lawyer, I see far too often Muslims busy fighting each other, forgetting the deen, forgetting Islamic principles, and acting against their own self-interest. I mean, a lot of the cases I've had over the last week, alhamdulillah, just this week, I helped to reunite a mother with her baby child that was taken away from her by by the father wrongfully. And this was a nursing child, you know, who was wrongfully taken from the mother. Alhamdulillah, we reunited her. But I'm also working on a case where a mother has taken the children away from the father for the last 5 years, hasn't even allowed a phone call with the father over the last year. He doesn't even know if they're alive. And what these people are not recognizing is when you're taking kids away from the other parent, you're harming the children. The children pay the price, and they will resent you, and you're doing oppression to yourself and to your children. So with our legal practice, we really try to reunite families. And you know what our style is? When we do get the children back, we don't work to punish the other parent, even the one who's in the wrong. Because at the end of the day, even if the mother or the father wrongfully took the children away, they need to be held accountable. They need to get the right counseling and the right therapy and the right understanding. But at the end, we need them to play a positive role in their children's lives. And not a lot of attorneys have this philosophy. So to answer your question, I know I was a little long-winded. Obviously, we've been very busy with the external challenges the community is facing, but at the same time, very, very busy in terms of dealing with day-to-day issues like the family law issues that, unfortunately, I believe are really holding our community back.
You talked about internal difficulties within Muslim community. I suppose that is a human thing. It's a human thing for people to have differences. But as Muslims, doubled with the fact that we're living in a predominantly non-Muslim environment, sometimes hostile to us, there's that added pressure. Are you seeing any particular trends with regards to profiling, divorce, different domestic issues? Is there a trend? Is there an increase or decrease in any of these particular fields?
You know, in the last week alone, I have had about 5 prominent, well-respected imams and community leaders call me because they are facing a divorce. And each and every one of these individuals is tremendously well-respected and is a very, I think, sincere and humble community servant. But the crazy thing about this is when I was hearing from each and every one of these 5 individuals, it sounded to me like they were all married to the same exact person. It's the same exact problems and challenges. And you know what that tells me? It tells me the problem isn't the brother, and the problem isn't even the wife, because if it's all the same, it reflects a societal problem of how society is setting expectations of how a relationship needs to be. And these are fake, false standards that are not found within our tradition. They're modern, Dajjalic standards that lead to the failure of households. And of course, our communities are in the heart of these societies, and we're being affected. We're not immune from it. And I think the solution is to go back to the Quran and Sunnah, to go back to the traditional, I think, framework of how a family should be run, where the husband is the protector and maintainer and supporter for the spouse, and where the wife is the protector of the children and the household, honor and respects her husband, and they collaborate. They each contribute to having a healthy family. It might be the father is spending more time out and working, and the wife is at home supporting the husband. I'll be very frank. I mean, I'm a believer in our traditional system, because what I'm seeing happening in a lot of these cases is the spouses, the wives, are very upset with the husband that you're not home enough. And when you're home, you don't help with the cooking and the cleaning. And it's like, wait a minute, the brother is spending 40, 50, 60 hours a week trying to put bread on the table, trying to serve the community. And he's also expected then to put a similar amount of work in the house. And some of the spouses have this idea that they are just entitled, that they are a princess, that they are a queen, and the husband should both provide for the finances, but also provide for everything in the house, and they're expected to do nothing. That is a failing ideology and mentality, and I've seen a pattern of this. And look, there's many instances where husbands are in the wrong as well. I don't pick sides. Most of my clients are actually women, believe it or not. I represent a lot of mothers, and I proudly do so. So there's definitely injustices on both sides, but it happens when we lose sight of what our traditional faith values teach us about healthy families. You have to remember, the standards in modern secular society were not designed to support traditional families. If anything, they're against what traditional families are about. And that's why I think we're seeing the breakdown of divorce when we take modern secular culture as our guide and our standard, as opposed to the traditional prophetic way.
You're going to see that clash of civilizations, to coin Samuel Huntington, I think it was, who coined that particular phrase. Very quickly, unfortunately, last question. Of course, when the American Constitution was put together, it wasn't necessarily thinking about Muslims, so it may not necessarily automatically suit the Muslim lifestyles we're talking about now. Are you finding that you have to really argue the case for Muslims specifically, or is it just a family thing? Because Islam is very traditional, 2.4 kids and house and everything, and a stable family, nuclear family. Do you find that you have to argue specifically for Muslim values, or is it something that's already embedded in the Constitution?
It's a great question. I really love that question. Look, there's a book called Thomas Jefferson's Quran, and I actually was in the Library of Congress, I believe late last year, and actually got to see the original copy of the translation of the Quran that was read by and in the possession of one of the founding fathers of the United States, Thomas Jefferson. And that's a great book. It talks about the founding fathers' position on Islam and Islam's influence on the U.S. And we actually see a lot of great influences. I mean, a lot of the judicial system is actually adopted from Islamic principles, believe it or not. And Thomas Jefferson,
found until proven guilty, I think is one of them.
Right? Innocent until proven guilty, circuit court judges, a case law, the system of case law, qisas. I mean, these are all beautiful things they've adopted from us. And Thomas Jefferson himself said that even if somebody were to be elected who's Muslim, he should be able to hold office. So I do believe the American Constitution preserves our rights to practice our faith. And the contract law also allows us to enter into business agreements, masjid charter agreements, marriages even, that in a way that preserves Islamic principles. What it comes down to is, do we ourselves want to do that? And do we avail ourselves of it? And what I've seen sometimes is parties try to see, okay, what rights does the state law give them? They want that. And what rights does Islam give them? They want that. But they don't want the responsibility from either. They pick and choose, and that's very destructive. I'll finish with this point. I once went in a court here in Florida, and there was a judge who's actually a Jewish judge, somebody we respect, and he's a very honorable person. And he told us, why are you Muslims coming to this secular court in Florida for a Jewish judge to decide your masjid conflict? Doesn't your religion teach you how to resolve your conflicts on your own? This was from the judge himself. And then he stepped out of the room and was like, Hassan, you help these people figure it out. And we tried to mediate a resolution. So listen, I think the American legal system, it definitely has a lot of flaws. It definitely has a lot of challenges. But for those who wish to live in a manner consistent with our faith principles, I do believe the legal system provides us enough room to do so, but we have to choose to do so.
And lastly, how can anyone get in touch with you or follow your progress, inshallah?
Appreciate that. So our website is muslimlegal.com. We are happy to help with a host of array of legal issues for the Muslim community, including immigration and other things. And just find us on Instagram, Hassan Shibly, ESQ. Jazakallah khairan, and thank you for hosting us.
Thank you once again. Always great speaking to you, brother. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
One of my favorite persons, actually. I really like him. Right, we're going to go for a very, very quick break. But if you've got any financial concerns or questions, this is the place to stick around. We'll see you in a short while.